All right, everybody, we got a Thursday recap show here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I am Dan Vespers, and thanks as always for joining in. Please, if you're new to the proceedings, hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you're watching on YouTube, and hit that 5-star review if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify after the fact. Also, comments are open should you feel so inclined to enjoy them. Yesterday was a 5-game Thursday, but there were actually, we may have gotten more out of a 5-game Thursday than we got out of like a 12-game Monday. Actually, a pretty busy day for new things popping up. So let's go through the card and figure out what we learned. Washington, beat Detroit on the road. This is a bad one for the Pistons. Luckily, the Eastern Conference has a pretty clear top 6. Pistons have a 4.5-game lead over the Hawks, who have won 4 games in a row, but I don't think they're catching Detroit anytime soon. Still, this is one of those ones where the Pistons, they just kind of overlooked an opponent, and then they got smacked. Washington put up $129 on him. And let's start with the obvious stuff. Chris Middleton is a play when he's in. Jordan Poole is a play when he's in. Keyshawn George, who I've been talking about on this show for weeks, is a play. And then you get into the others. But there was a pivot in the others yesterday. It's possible that this is actually the biggest story of the card, so we'll just knock it out right out of the chute here. Bilal Coulibaly was ruled out for the remainder, they said 4 to 6 weeks, but the season is only 4.5 weeks long. So most likely Coulibaly is out for the year. And Justin Champagnie dropped right into his playing time. That's a beautiful thing right there, because it didn't have to be that way. We've seen other games where Coulibaly was out and Champagnie didn't do all that much. This one, it was his spot, and he grabbed it. And we saw it earlier this year. When Champagnie gets minutes, he's a really solid fantasy play. And in this game, Justin had 17 points, 9 boards, 3 steals, 3 threes, 6 out of 9 shooting from the field, 2 for 2 at the foul line, 0 turnovers as well. I think you got to add him basically everywhere. And I say basically because schedule is a factor in most leagues right now. Not for Roto, obviously. But for the Wizards, they've got a game tomorrow in Denver. It's actually a Nuggets back-to-back. They've got the Lakers today and then the Wizards tomorrow. Then they're in Portland on Monday, finishing up kind of a weird 6-game road trip that had them in Toronto for 2, in Detroit for 2, and then just like sneaking out to Denver and Portland before coming back. But after that Portland game, the Wizards are off for 3 days in a row. After that, their schedule gets great. They have a 5-7 in there. They have another back-to-back the following week. Like, their schedule is hyper-loaded starting on March 21st, but most of us are basically done with our leagues by March 21st. So I don't know how useful that's going to be for you guys. So that's the problem in head-to-head right now, is if you're picking up Justin Champagnie, you're doing it tomorrow in head-to-head, and you're only holding him for 3 days, which kind of sucks. Roto, you pick him up, you just hold him through those 3 off days, because if this sticks, you could get a top 75 kind of dude. Maybe rest of season. We'll see how everything shakes out for him, but I think he belongs on most rosters. And then Alex Sarr was the other one that I thought was worth mentioning, because Rashawn Holmes only played 18 minutes here. Sarr soaked up the center minutes. He was really good in, I don't want to call it a rare twist, because he's shown flashes, but this is the upside. This is why for all those months we were like, let's hold Sarr. Let's see what happens. Is the trajectory the right way? We haven't gotten this at any measure of consistency so far this year, but if it starts to happen now, well, then you can, count your coins or whatever. Like, I still think that Sarr and Holmes are probably going to mostly split the center minutes. Alex, like 26, Holmes 20, 21, something like that. Roughly. Sometimes they go a little small for a minute or two. Like, it doesn't always come out to exactly 48. But if it starts to pivot, then just be ready. But to me, the big news in this one was Justin Champagnie. Not that Sarr had one good ball game. It's that Champagnie got the minutes. And I mean, if you guys need more convincing, you can go back and look through all the numbers for him. Go back to that stretch. Crap. What month was that? It's a while back now. He's not available in many of my leagues anymore because I picked him up in almost all of them. It was in December. Yeah, I got to go through the game log here. It was most of December that, like, all the Wizards' wings were out, and Justin Champagnie went on a sweet run. December 7th, 23-8, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 2 threes. December 8th, the very next day, 7th and 8th, back-to-back, 14, 8, and 5 steals. A couple days after that, and they had a little layoff in there. I think that was in-season tournament time. 16 and 8, stealing a block, 2 threes. Game after that, 13 and 14 with 3 blocks. Game after that, 14 and 8. Two assists and a three-pointer on good percentages. And then guys came back, and his minutes trended down, and they've been down, but for one game here and there until a game and a half ago when Koulibaly was ruled out, and Champagnie was only merely okay in his first try at it. That was on the 11th. He had 5 points and 8 rebounds. But kind of hidden in that was that he played 31 minutes. I didn't talk much about him on the show, and that's my fault. I should have gotten into it a little bit more, because if he doesn't go 2 for 8, if he goes 4 for 8, it's 9 points, 10 points, 10 and 8 with an assist and good defensive stats and good percentages is very much a guy you're going to want to have on your team. And that's the nice thing about Champagnie this year. He's shooting 50% from the field. He's averaging a steal and almost a block in only 19 minutes a game. You crank that up to 30. He's got a decent shot to go over 1 in both of those things. Like well over it in steals. So I'm into the Justin Champagnie experience right now, and I think you should be too. But for that damn 3-day off period next week. No surprises out of Detroit. Sar Thompson, and I talked about this a lot on the show. I really felt like he was more of a specialist kind of stream when Tobias Harris is in the lineup. And that's kind of bearing itself out. Overall, Thompson's been solid lately. Basically, since Jaden Ivey went down, he's been playable in most formats, but it's really been, a hard attack on steals and field goal percent with some other stuff blended in every once in a while and a punt free throw build. The thing I'm more excited about with Detroit is that it took all frickin' year, but Tobias Harris finally looks like he's fitting in. He finally looks like he feels like he belongs, and he's been that top 60 guy over the last month and a half that we were all hoping for at the beginning of the year. It just, took a long, stupid time to get there. Lakers don't have even remotely close to enough defensive firepower with all these guys out to deal with Milwaukee. Because Milwaukee is going to be a tough cover for the Lakers regardless, for anyone, frankly, because how the hell do you stop Giannis? But then if you don't have Jackson Hayes, if your options in the middle are Alex Len, Christian Koloko, and then Trey Jemison, who didn't even play in this ball game, you're doomed, man. Brook Lopez is going to rip you from limb to limb if that's the crap you're throwing at him, and he did. Like, this is old man Brook Lopez, but if you show him Alex Len and a G Leaguer, he's going to cook him. So the Lakers, as annoying as it is, and as a Laker fan, but a pragmatic fantasy Lakers user, it's pretty obvious what the hell happened here. It was Jackson Hayes. It's not LeBron. It's weird to say that, but the Lakers can win games without LeBron. They showed it earlier this year, but they have to have a center, and they don't. Earlier this season, they won games without LeBron because they had Anthony Davis at center. Obviously, that's a nice cover. Now they have Luka, so they have plenty of options on offense. Luka, Austin Reeves, they did a lot. They carried the team. Those two dudes had 75 points. They shot like 55% between the two of them. They were hyper efficient, but they couldn't stop anybody. And the rest of the team was terrible. They couldn't make an open shot to save their lives. Really embarrassing effort from the other guys, but that's not the point. Point is, Lakers aren't going to stop you. Dorian Finney-Smith coming back was somewhat useful for them, but he was in foul trouble most of the game dealing with Giannis. Gabe Vincent couldn't hit any of his open shots yesterday. There was a sequence early in the game where Vincent had 3 consecutive wide open left corner threes and missed them all. And it was in that moment where everybody, Twitter was mad. But how do you tell him not to take that shot? There isn't a defender within 15 feet. You got to shoot it. They'll be fine. I think the Lakers are going to rest everybody on their back-to-back in altitude. There's no reason to risk injury to the rest of these guys. And then it sounds like Rui, LeBron, and Hayes are all very close to coming back. Possibly, it sounds like when the Lakers get home, which they will be on Sunday, they take on the Phoenix Suns, then the Spurs the following day, then they're off, then they got Denver and Milwaukee again, but those times at home. And they'll try to get a little bit of revenge in those. Maybe you see LeBron back for those. I feel pretty strongly that Rui and Hayes are going to be back for one at some point during those 4 games. It's a 5-game homestand, but the 4 that are all jammed together, I just don't really know when. And there isn't anybody else to pick up because the rest of these guys stink. Dalton Connect is your stream if you need 3-pointers, but that's about it. Don't buy into the Kevin Porter Jr. thing. He played 17 minutes and went crazy yesterday. 22 points, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 5 3-pointers. The really funny thing about this was, if you watch the game live, which I did, multiple 3-pointers for Kevin Porter came off of Giannis driving, having it stripped out of his hand, and then just like trickling out to Kevin Porter standing by himself at the 3-point line. It was wild. I mean, sometimes you just get the lucky bounce. They were going to beat the hell out of the Lakers regardless. I'm not saying that's the difference in the game, but it was a pretty big difference in Kevin Porter Jr.'s day. That all of a sudden he was just wide open, nobody near him, because everybody was like diving on the ground for a loose ball, and then the ball just goes doop, 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 squirts along. Oh, I'll pick this up and fire it. Gary Trent had 16. I mean, the only reason to bring up those guys would have been on the streaming side because Milwaukee had that game, then they're off. Now they got a weekend back-to-back, so that's something we'll talk about on our streaming show as well. Other stuff for the Bucks, like Giannis, Dame, Brook Lopez. Those are the only 3 guys you're playing against the games cap. I did try to warn you that Kyle Kuzma stinks, like 6 years running. That's not that. No, basically since he got moved from a role-playing job to a more featured position, there was no reason outside of points leagues, and now he's back to being that guy, but on a team where he doesn't get to touch the basketball. Brooklyn and Chicago were fun. I know that's, well, okay. The game was fun. Brooklyn's not that fun. Chicago's fun. I had to figure out how I'd phrase these things. Guys, it's March 14th. March Madness starts in 4 days. And BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on the madness. They have the largest selection of odds on everything in college basketball right now, which is like, that's the place to be, to a $200,000 bracket contest, making BetOnline your number one sports betting source. That's what I've already told you. So whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-timer, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion, taking you from every Cinderella story to every NBA jam to every NHL contest, hat tricks, baseball. The Tokyo Series for the Dodgers also starts in 4 days. MLB's back next week. BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more on every game, every play, and every win. Go check them out now. Win some money. BetOnline. The game starts here. Brooklyn's stupid and annoying because they're going to rest Cam Thomas and D'Angelo Russell on alternating games. I don't know what the hell's going on with Noah Clowney. Not that it really matters all that much, although I did pick him up in one spot because I thought, oh, great, I'm going to get 5 games out of this dude. And then he played in the back-to-back, and I was like, awesome. He's not even taking rest days. And then re-aggravated. We don't even really know. Ankle is back again. So I don't know what's going on there. Tyrese Martin has actually been, if you were sort of spinning the Brooklyn wheel of madness on which player to stream for all 5 days that wasn't on a bunch of rosters, it came up Tyrese Martin this week. Go figure. In any event, you guys know the drill at this point. The game's cap plays for the Nets: Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, when he plays, and Nick Claxton. The schedule streamable guys: Tyrese Martin, Aaron Sharp, Zaire Williams, generally Keon Johnson, barely Trendon Watford, not really Jalen Wilson. D'Lo just belongs on wires now because he's not even playing. He's not playing in every game, and he's not good enough in the ones he is. And then, yeah, I don't know what to do with Noah Clowney. Probably a drop, although it'd be nice if we could wait till tomorrow or get some kind of news on him today because they've got a weekend back-to-back. That'd be a great thing to get in head-to-head. Whatever. Screw the whole thing. These teams are pissing me off. Silly season. Oh, what joy. Bulls are fun, however, for a lot of reasons. Number one, Tre Jones, who we've been talking about as a premier injury play right now with Lonzo Ball and Josh Giddey both out. We don't know when those guys are coming back. And I still get the feeling that even if one of them comes back, Tre Jones is still going to play decent minutes. I would be more worried about a Lonzo return because he's not big enough to be anything other than the point guard. Josh Giddey's kind of a point small forward, and that has generally pushed Kevin Huerter to the bench, which is the other thing to talk about right now. Kevin Huerter is a great play. Don't overlook him because he's been extremely boring in fantasy for a very long time. There were stretches in Sacramento where Huerter got hot and was playable. The beauty of Chicago is that he's not behind 3 ultra high usage guys right now. He's behind 1 and then a host of medium usage dudes. Even Vooch, once he gets ramped back up, he's not a super high usage guy. Kobe White is the only one right now. Yesterday, Kevin Huerter took the second most shots on the team. He basically was tied for the second most usage on the team with pretty much Tre Jones, who had more assists, fewer shots, whatever, balances out. Huerter playing 30-plus minutes and getting 15 shots a game is a must-play fantasy guy, and he's not that heavily rostered, which surprises the crap out of me. Now, admittedly, like, he's not going to give you every category. He's going to give you steals, he's going to give you points, he's going to give you threes, and then anything else is a little bit gravy at this point. So, like, 3 assists is the target number. Probably doesn't get there. 5 rebounds is the target number. He had 9 yesterday. I don't know where the hell that came from. But there's almost no doubt in my mind that if Giddey and Ball remain out for another week, Kevin Huerter is a must-play guy. And the only reason that he's not ranked higher since he started ramping up his minutes is that he's shooting 36% over that stretch and 67% at the free throw line. Percentages have been terrible the last week. And he's not a great foul shooter. Career 76%er, so he's not going to help you much there, but he also barely ever takes any. But he's a 44% shooter from the field. So that's a number that's likely to come up from 37. And he's at 11 shots a game in Chicago, and that's largely in his bench role. It's higher when he's getting these bigger minutes. He has never, by the way, almost forgot to take a breath between sentences there. Kevin Huerter has never in his career exceeded 11.5 shots per game. His last 3 games, he's at 13, 15, and 16. And you can play the like, well, what would he be game? Go back to 2022, 2023 in Sacramento. That was when Huerter took 11 shots a game, 11.5, and he was number 89 in 9 category leagues. 15 points, 3.3 boards, 2.9 assists, 1.1 steals, a third of a block, 2.7 threes. Yeah, he shot 48.5% from the field. There's no guarantee that that's a number that comes back around for him. That was probably a bit on the high side. But also, there's a stretch coming up. That was top 90 and 11.5 shots a game. If you crank that up to 13, it's pretty easy for him to be inside the top 100 with a little bit of built-in upside there. So definitely go on Huerter and Tre Jones. Zach Collins, I'm not really trusting, right? Like, if you had him on your team and you didn't drop him, then he's been good enough. The Bulls' schedule isn't very good this week. You have to assume that Vooch is going to overtake him within the next 2 to 3 ball games, and so that one evaporates. And then keep one eye on Julian Phillips. I'm not going to dive in on Phillips after one good ball game, but I did try to warn you that Buzelis is not that good, at least not yet. I'm not saying what's going to happen down the line, but Buzelis ain't there yet. I've been saying that for about 5 weeks. I think you guys are finally starting to believe me. Orlando's a pretty boring fantasy team. Extra boring with no Cole Anthony around because Corey Joseph, who, interestingly enough, I saw Corey Joseph at Legoland in August. Yeah, he was with Kawhi Leonard. Corey Joseph and Kawhi Leonard were at Legoland in August. I don't remember when exactly we were there, but I feel pretty confident that I was one of the only people in Legoland that recognized Corey Joseph because everybody else was looking at Kawhi. By the way, it's also much more obvious because Kawhi's, 6'7"? So there's just like a giant dude walking around Legoland whose hands are bigger than everybody else's head. And then there's, with him always is his sidekick, who's this like 6'1" guy. That doesn't stand out in a crowd. I was like, I know that guy. That's Corey freaking Joseph. And my wife was like, I don't care. But then I was like, but that dude's Kawhi. And she was like, I kind of care about that. Sorry, Corey. This wasn't meant to pick on you. Hope you guys enjoyed Legoland. You're not picking up Corey Joseph. I don't care how long Cole Anthony misses here. Wendell Carter Jr. is a rebound stream only, and he didn't really get you that one. The one thing that was worth noting is that with Cole Anthony down, KCP had no choice but to take 10 shots. And he's kind of like a steals play in that spot who didn't get any steals. I'd rather leave the Magic alone other than Paolo, who finally had an efficient ball game if he's right for your build, and then Franz, who's obviously right for every build. This is kind of and I know it's a short card, so if we wanted to spend more time on anything, we could, but this is kind of a throw it out game for the Pelicans. They just ran into a magic-shaped defensive buzzsaw. No Kelly Olynyk and no Yves Missy on the Pelicans side, so Karlo Matkovic got the start at center, which is generally a very good sign. But the Magic just ate him alive. I will say that if this is the lineup that the Pels run out in their next ball game, and I don't know, they got the Spurs tomorrow. Missy could be back. Olynyk could be back. That completely blows it up. But if both of those guys are out again, I would start Matkovic against the games cap because he gives you boards, blocks on decent percentages, and can step out and hit a three. You want those like very, very poor man's Kristaps Porzingis kind of fantasy games. Those guys have an easy path inside the top 100, but it might be a 0-day stream for Matkovic if somebody comes back. But it might only be a 1-day thing, even in a good scenario. I will say the one thing I just keep waiting for with the Pels is the actual shutdowns, because they're 18-49. There's legitimately no reason for them to be playing their regulars right now. They have the 4th worst record in the NBA. They have a real shot to get bottom 3 odds if they can worsen themselves than the Hornets. Both teams have the same number of losses right now. So the Pels just don't win any more ball games. Shouldn't be that hard, right? 15 games left, just don't win any of them. But they're still playing these guys like a bunch of jerkos. I'm waiting for McCollum to get shut down. That was the end of that sentence, because when he does, it's Jose Alvarado time. The rest of these guys, like Jordan Hawkins, he'll score a bunch, but the other stuff is lacking. Mo frickin' Bamba played 25 minutes here because they had no other centers. I don't care about these things. We'll deal with that when we get there. If they shut everybody down, Bruce Brown might have value. But we don't have to worry about it yet. Just watch that injury report. Keep your eye on, underdog_NBA. They've got the fastest one. You know what? Screw it. This feels like a perfectly good time to do an underdog read. UnderdogFantasy.com is a proud partner of us here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. It's also a great time for me to remind you guys, hey, please just stop what you're doing. Disconnect your brain from me yammering in your ear for a second. Hit the like and subscribe button. It's actually really important. Again, we're just trying to get a few more of you guys to subscribe at the end of the year here. These last few weeks, I know it's not exactly a time when people are looking for their new fantasy source, but if you found us, please subscribe to us. I want to make sure that I'm with you at the start of next year while we hopefully wrap up some wins this year as well. And again, iTunes, Spotify, do hit those 5-star reviews. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Vespers. But in terms of UnderdogFantasy.com, use promo code OLDMAN or use the link in our show description today. Sign up now. You can get a free play, which is instead of having to pick 2 names for your Pick'em card, you only need 1. 1 and a freebie, still 3 times your entry fee is what you bring home. And it's not like DFS, which I find incredibly confusing. Brenton's amazing at it. I'm so glad that we have him to usher you through that stuff. But I am so confused by DFS. I don't know how to get the prices to match. I'm always just looking for teams where there's somebody out and picking someone else. It doesn't always work. You got to get the big names right, too, in DFS. You don't have to do that in Underdog. You can pick the big names. You can pick the small ones, the in-between. All you got to do, and it doesn't have to be points either. It can be points, rebounds, assists, combinations of them, steals, blocks, first quarter, second half, whatever. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed playing with us. Go check them out now at UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code OldMan. Kings got blitzed by the Warriors. Kings have now lost 3 games in a row. Nobody wants those last 2 spots. Someone will get them. Warriors are hot. Wolves are hot. Rockets are warm. Grizzlies are warm. Lakers have gone cold, but that's because their whole team is hurt. Kings have gone cold because, Sabonis was out. That is certainly part of it. Mavs, whole team is out. Suns just suck. Spurs, De'Aaron Fox got shut down for the year. By the way, footnote there. Let's watch the Spurs very closely to see if there's any one guy who steps into the De'Aaron Fox stuff. I'm not convinced that it's going to be any one dude, but maybe a little bit of everybody. And then the Blazers, they've lost 5 games in a row too. Nobody wants that last spot. It might be the hapless Mavs who just get trounced by someone in the first play-in and then, anyway. As far as the Kings go, Keon Ellis got bonus run here because the Kings went small. Jonas Valanciunas got run off the floor by the Warriors, so they just tried something else, and that didn't even really work either. I don't trust Keon Ellis in this bench role. The minutes are not consistent enough. And Sabonis is due back, so those center minutes are not going to get spread around to other dudes when, say, the center isn't playing all that well. So no thank you. I'll go DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, and Sabonis when he comes back. Or if he's out for another game, you go JV and just try to forget that this one happened. As far as the Warriors go, Moses Moody is a play. I've said this for a few games in a row while Brandon Podziemski is out. You can call him super close if you want. You can call him an injury replacement. We don't know how long Podziemski is going to be on the shelf. But in the 3 games, basically, that Pods has been fully out, Moody had 12, 7, and 3 with 3 steals, 20 points with a steal, and a couple of threes. Yesterday, 17, 4, and 6, 2 steals, a block, and 4 3-pointers. He's made 13 out of 14 free throws over that stretch. He's just putting together a really nice run. He's running a little bit hot. 50% shooting will do that. 93% foul shooting will also do that. But the steals are high. The threes are high. You can count on those as well. And there's just, like, no one's really challenging him for those minutes right now. But we do need to keep an eye on it because Jonathan Kuminga came back yesterday, played about as much usage as you can get in 20 minutes of action. No, I'm not picking up Kuminga in any 9-category leagues because his game really doesn't translate well. But it does give the Warriors one other option if they wanted to sort of mush bodies around, if they want to run smaller, if they want to run bigger. It just complicates things as Kuminga's minutes get ramped up. So for right now, I think you can go Moody. I don't know if it's going to stick for more than another couple of ball games. But again, this time of year, a couple of ball games might be 25% of your season. It might be your entire year. So I think Moody's a go right now. And, you know, not everybody's like, oh, what about rest of season? I'm like, I don't know, man. Rest of season's 4 weeks. It might work. It might not. I don't care. And just in case you guys forgot what we talked about, here's a quick recap post that I made over on social media. A good reason to follow me on Twitter at Dan Vespris is because I try to get some of this stuff out to you. Although a lot of what we're doing yesterday as well, the full recap was over in Discord. And that link is in the show description as well. Discord is up over 4,000 members right now, so that's pretty cool. But the ads coming out of yesterday, Justin Champagnie, Tre Jones, if you hadn't done it already. Kevin Huerter is another one that I think we needed to stress a little bit more. Those are the 3 that are my favorites out of yesterday's card. Moses Moody is probably an ad. I put him in the very close department because maybe, you know, if you don't need threes or steals, he probably doesn't jump quite as far up the board. And then like Kevin Huerter getting 14, 15, 16 shots is just a little bit more trustworthy in the same general stat set. Moody seemingly a better foul shooter. And then the watch list, Keon Ellis is sort of permanently on the watch list. Julian Phillips I put on the watch list from Chicago because, I don't know, maybe, but probably not. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. I'm Dan Vespris. We'll be back with you in about an hour and a half with our streaming show, where we're going to look at today, Friday's streams, Saturday's streams, and then there was a request to try to look even farther ahead. So we'll cover a few, which actually might, if I do that on the streaming show, I might skip the streaming show on Saturday unless something big changes, because I don't like to repeat myself completely. And if we do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday here on this one, then I'm not going to do another show on Saturday where I also do the same exact stuff. That's dumb. I would just say watch the frickin' streaming show from today. But we'll see. And then later on today, Adam King and I are recording a mailbag show. So get those questions in. They're over on, I've sent a tweet out. If you reply to that, those will be the questions we look at. We're not going to answer all of them. We're going to sort of pick our favorites. But my hope is that most of them are sort of like strategic decisions for the playoffs, or maybe sort of big names, guys, things, what we should do with those types. All right, I'm out. Under 30 minutes. How about that, guys? See you later.